Welcome to the Power of Design podcast, where we have inspiring conversations that explore the intersection of architecture, construction, and real estate, so we can understand the dynamics and trends that shape an exciting and powerful built environment. This is your host, Jack Osa. On this episode of the Power of Design podcast, I'm talking to my friend John Petrone. John is the president and CEO of Southwood Corporation. Southwood is a full-service signage company in Charlotte, North Carolina. John is a military veteran and a business leader who empowers his team to reach the highest levels of quality in production and service in order to create tangible results for his clients. John and I started our entrepreneurial journeys around the same time. We have worked together and helped each other, sharing opportunities, projects, and talking about the present and future of our businesses. This is my conversation with John. John, welcome to the Power of Design podcast. How are you today?
I'm great, Jack. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing excellent.
Perfect.
John, in 2016, you became president of a signage company with more than 50 years of history, more than 50 employees, and projects in all 50 states. Today, 5 years later, what would you say is the single most important lesson you learned about leading people and growing a business?
You know, Jack, that's a great question. And you know, I don't know if there's a single thing that drives it all, but if it was, I would point to finding the absolute best people you can find and surrounding yourself with them. You know, ultimately, it's all about building a team.
Yeah. And how do you find the best people?
That's a great question. It's through word of mouth. It's through getting engaged in the industry. And, you know, frankly, when I got to Southwood, like you said, we had a very successful history. And so we had an incredible group of people that were talented, that provided that foundation for growth and success.
Yeah. And, you know, that's one of those things that regardless of the industry or business you're in, it's always about talent. And talent attraction and retention. You know, this is my number 40 podcast. So I've talked to people in all areas of, you know, or my universe, which is the design and construction industry. And at the end of the day, it's after the same thing: attract and retain talent. And I'll see how anything we do, and at least I try to position my company, my firm, and my services as a tool to help people attract and retain talent. And also that's why I'm so passionate about branding, because once you put your communication and your image out there, you're attracting and retaining that talent you're looking for.
Absolutely. And you know, when we look at some of the talented people that we've hired, it's been introductions through you. So, yeah. You know, you've certainly played a big role in that, and we're very appreciative and thankful.
Cool. John, tell me about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I grew up, so I was born originally in Knoxville, Tennessee, and moved to Charlotte as a child in elementary school. So I've spent, you know, basically my entire life in Charlotte, other than a stint in the Marine Corps. So I've about as close to a Charlotte native as you find anymore in Charlotte.
And where did you go to high school?
I went off to boarding school. I followed my older brother, so I went to a boarding school up in Central Virginia called Woodbury.
Yeah, how was that experience for you?
It was a great experience. You know, high school is a very formative time, and you know, I think being in a close-knit, tight group of people allows you to really grow up and mature and you know, make better decisions as you grow older. But, you know, going to an all-guys boarding school is certainly not a high schooler's dream.
Yeah.
You get quite jealous of your peers back home. But
sure.
It certainly, I think, provided the springboard that I needed.
Yeah. So what was the next step after you graduated the high school, and how did you know what to do?
So, one of the things that I was very fortunate to figure out at a very early age was my love of manufacturing. So I started at Charlotte Pipe and Foundry at age 16, working up at the cast iron pipe foundry up near the Panther Stadium. And that experience at that age and just learning a work ethic and, what it means to wake up at 4 o'clock, report to work at 5, and work a hard day and an honest day is something that made all the difference.
Nice. So what was that next step after you finished high school?
I after college, I went off to graduate from UNC, Chapel Hill. And the day I graduated, I actually took my commission into the Marine Corps, moved up to Quantico, Virginia to the basic school, became an infantry officer, and then moved to Camp Lejeune down at the coast.
Wow. And how was it? What the experience you expected to be, or were you surprised by what you have to go through?
No, I love the experience. It was exactly the right experience for me. I was never the guy that was going to graduate school and go sit in a cubicle and stare at a computer.
Yeah.
Growing up in manufacturing, I love to work with my hands. I love to be surrounded by people. And, I think the Marine Corps in a way provided that outlet.
Yeah.
And, frankly, it was so impactful because, straight out of school, my first platoon, I had 40 some odd guys. A year later, I was in charge of the combined anti-armor team platoon and had 75 guys, and we were deploying to Afghanistan.
Wow.
And so, it forces you to grow up quick. It forces you to make mistakes and learn from them and, grow as a leader and as a person.
Yeah. So did you know that you had in yourself, that confidence to be leading people, I guess, leading people in war and all these strategic decisions. Do you know, like, okay, yeah, I can do this, or were you?
I think, most guys grow up with some level of confidence, but no, the Marines, one of the beautiful things of why the Marine Corps is so successful is they break you down to nothing. I mean, at officer candidate school, you can't even use a personal pronoun.
Yeah.
It's this candidate, asked to go to the restroom. It's no longer about yourself. And then they systematically build you back over time to become the leader and the person that you ultimately need to be.
Sure.
For your Marines' sake.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me one meaningful story about your experience in Afghanistan.
One meaningful experience. That's hard because there's, over an 8-month deployment, there's so many impactful events, but I think the things that I cherish were, Thanksgiving with my platoon. We bought a goat in the local bazaar. We cooked our Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah.
Those relationships and those people that you experience those things with become so meaningful, and you just form a relationship that I can't imagine forming elsewhere.
Sure, and I will think that being away from your family, people, your city, your country, we all by nature we need community, and
right.
When we try to form those ties with people that have things that are common to who we are, especially in conditions where you're under pressure and you don't have a lot of options to
right.
go to.
No, it's certainly a unique experience.
And then what happens after that? You come back.
So came back, spent some time working for then the chairman of the UNC Board of Governors in a role that kind of as his chief of staff. Working through that, it was a very political position, not exactly what I was kind of looking to do long term, but a wonderful learning experience. And then did that for about a year before moving out to iTech, Instrument Transformer Equipment Corporation in Monroe. Falfurious, a private equity group in town, had purchased this transformer manufacturer, and I was out there working in operations, really with the goal of getting a little bit of business experience and then going and using the GI Bill and getting my MBA. While I was at iTech, the opportunity at Southwood presented itself, and I basically said, I can either go to school or I can, learn on the fly.
Yeah.
And, I took the flyer and it's been a wonderful ride ever since.
Yeah. Experience is always the best teacher.
That's right.
And making mistakes. I think that's one of the things that is really challenging what the education system is today, because at least with technology, you can learn anything you want for free with YouTube, Google, anything you want to. And then if you have the experience and you're willing to endure the growing path, you can become an expert in anything.
That's right.
It's not necessarily in a classroom that you have to learn everything.
Well, the fear of failure is a really good motivator. And if you've got a mission to accomplish and you've got folks that you owe it to do it the right way, you're going to force yourself to learn and learn quickly. And inevitably you're going to make mistakes, and I've made 10,000 of them.
Right.
But do you learn from them, and do you move on in a smart and expeditious way? Yeah.
So you make a move where you become the president of a company who has a long history. There are a lot of people that have been working there. There is culture. There are things that people are used to, and you showed up in there, and you're probably quarter of the age of the previous owner, something like that.
Yeah, I was 29.
So what is that like? Because I would think, from outside, people will say, "Hey, what was this kid going to do here?"
Oh yeah.
I would be very, preventious about that.
I think you go in exactly how you approach a new platoon. I was young, still am. I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to do my best to make the right decisions. I'm going to do what's right for y'all.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep our team together. And if we can bring this core group of people together, align our goals appropriately, then, we can accomplish anything.
Sure.
We have an average tenure of 10 years.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And in our business where, largely, signs are fabricated by hand. I mean, you've got CNC routers, you've got printers, but it's the craftsmen that are hand making these signs. That experience and talent and knowledge is invaluable. And so you got to go in there and you got to learn from them. And spend time with them and ask questions, because ultimately that's who's going to show you the way and teach you the best way.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with more from the Power of Design podcast.
The Power of Design podcast is brought to you by OSA Studio, a multidisciplinary design firm focused on creating impactful experiences through the power of design. We partner with our clients to create buildings, interior spaces, brands, and strategies that help you deliver a successful project. As a minority-owned firm, we are committed to building a diverse platform of curious and driven design professionals so we can together pursue our full potential. For more information, please visit us at www.osastudio.com.
Yeah, tell me about Southwood in general. You know, what services you guys provide, what type of clients you guys work with.
Yeah, so we're a turnkey signage and graphics manufacturer. So what that means is, we've got, project management in-house, we've got design in-house, we've got our shop drawings in-house, we've got our production team, and then installation. So, we offer a kind of soup to nuts process if you're building, a new multifamily project, for example.
Okay.
We're doing everything from the room IDs to the blade sign out front to the restroom sign. So it's all encompassing in a one-stop shop. The type of clients that we work with, we work with designers, we work with architects, we work with GCs, developers, end users, but in a myriad of industries, whether it's finance, whether it's healthcare, whether it's commercial, whether it's multifamily, senior living. So we really span the gamut, sports and entertainment. But I've always got a saying: a sign is a sign is a sign, and it's just being knowledgeable of the application and the correct materials.
Yeah. What would you say is one of the biggest differentiators of Southwood in the marketplace? Because, there are other companies providing similar services. What would you say is the unique value you guys bring to the marketplace?
I think it's quality and the pride that we take in our product. We've got a 92% retention rate. So if we get a client and they can understand, our services, and we can get to know them and become the partner that we're capable of becoming.
Yeah.
And we just deliver a very high quality product at a reasonable price and a reasonable time frame, then the rest speaks for itself.
Sure. What are your typical roles and responsibilities as a president of Southwood?
I think at the end of the day, my responsibility is our client's success. And that's a successful project manager. That's a successful design. That's successful, production. It's successful installation. And it's to enable that success. There's a myriad of things that you get involved in, and it's people, it's process. But, at the end of the day, that's my responsibility, is seeing that our clients get the absolute best product.
Yeah. I know you and I had a lot of conversations about, signage, and signage is very interesting because it's a whole design and construction process, but it's fast-tracked, and it's kind of attached to buildings, but it's not construction, but it's not graphic design because it's 3D. So it's a very special place because you need all those types of expertise. You need the design side, you need to understand some level of constructability because you need to attach these things, and it needs to be structurally safe and sound. It needs to look beautiful, and it needs to be durable.
Right.
So one of the things that I've experienced working with Southwood is that early involvement in the project is key. Getting feedback from ideas that we may have as designers or architects on, constructability, that feedback on materials. How can we be more effective for the client? How can we save time, money, cost, because you guys face the same thing any construction company face, schedule, manpower, materials.
Right.
It's all the same thing.
No, No, I couldn't have said it better myself, frankly. I appreciate you saying that. No, getting involved in the beginning, really sets the project up for success, because at the end of the day, the signs are darn near the last piece of the project.
Yeah.
And in any given construction project, no matter how smoothly it goes, everybody's ready for the final product.
Sure.
And, getting involved early lets you coordinate with the architect, lets you coordinate with the GC, with the electrician. And so when you get involved and you can build that team from the outset, then you have time to value engineer, like you say, or overcome the obstacles that inevitably happen in custom manufacturing and construction projects. So that, you nailed it.
Yeah, and I think you probably get calls all the time where people never thought about their sign and they say, "Oh, we need this in 2 weeks," and they don't realize, dude, this takes time, design time, procurement, and it's gonna be like
it
9
does.
weeks.
And that's that's inevitable.
Yeah.
Like you say, and it's all about the beautiful thing of being a 50-year-old business with talented people is they can be creative and nimble, and we can work within some of those parameters to ensure a successful solution.
Yeah, and there's so many buildings. When I'm always looking at buildings, at signs, and branding, and I will think most of signs have not been well thought out because they're usually tacked on, and we have seen several examples of buildings when you look at the sign, you're like, oh my God, who put that in there? But
not Southwood.
No, not really. But just having the time, the thinking time to be strategic. Where do you place it? Why does it go with the architecture? That's huge value that brings to the building owners.
Absolutely, and coordinating that at the outset with the architect so that it does match the building and the environment, and it's appropriately placed, and it's up to code. All of those things are so critical, and like you say, it happens all the time where they're forgotten.
Yeah, and for your clients, they have their own business and they have an agenda with their project, right? Whether it's a multifamily building that they needed to be safe and have the right signage and look good for their residents, or if it's an office building, they're gonna need anything they need for the occupants to make that happen. You really facilitate their business. You're really giving them an advantage to achieve their goals through the signage, the right application of the sign to the building.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, the signage, it's your brand, it's your identity. It represents you, your culture, your people. It gets you where you're going, or it lets you know that you've arrived. And so, that's why we bring to the table that detail and concern for quality, because ultimately it becomes an identity.
Sure. What would you say is the biggest challenge your clients are facing today?
I mean, we're still in a pandemic. I think that the challenges are numerous. I think they still face problems with flexibility, modularity. What is the future of office, or the like? It's responsiveness, it's construction prices, and frankly, I think it's consistency. Can you perform at the same level across a company's platform, whether it's in Charlotte, North Carolina, or it's in Seattle, Washington, or Denver, Colorado? So I think the challenges are numerous. It's just how can you build a team and a process and a culture to address those problems.
Yeah, I think definitely this is an exciting time because, we're facing a lot of uncertainty. It's easy when things always go the same way, you know what to do, but now everybody's not sure about the future. So, we're being very careful to take steps to make things happen. But I think at the other side, we'll all kind of tire and we have, COVID fatigue, and we're like, what? Let's keep living, make things happen.
Yeah, well, it's certainly a unique time, and I think you've got to remain nimble. You've got to set a precedence for efficiency, productivity. One of the things that I've been spending a lot of our time, or my time, doing throughout this pandemic is using this as a time to look, how can we be more efficient? What technology is out there that will decrease our lead time or increase our flexibility? Because the needs are ever changing. We've experienced a decade of change, in the last 8 months.
Yeah.
And so how can we lean in to, as we get out of this pandemic, be able to ramp up and meet the needs of our clients?
Yeah. I know within what you guys do, you're dealing with designers, you're dealing with contractors, you're dealing with developers, pretty much every professional involved in creating the built environment. How do you see the design and construction industry evolving into the future?
I think technology is certainly going to play a piece. I think, modularity and flexibility, like we mentioned earlier, is certainly going to play a part. I mean, we were just in your office looking at a 3D printer.
Yeah.
How does that change signage moving forward?
Sure.
Those are all the aspects that I think are going to impact us over the next decade or so. I think prefab construction and we're going to see that rise. It's being nimble and efficient. But I think the future, remains to be seen. I mean, it's changing every day, and we've experienced it dramatically.
Yeah, I think what's exciting is, there are a lot of positivity about the future of what's coming. There's going to be a lot of movement and progress in design, construction, in new ways to make things happen. And I think, you guys are perfectly positioned to go to the next level, with the right team at the right time, with the right opportunities. It could be something really impressive.
Well, I appreciate that. We're certainly preparing and, rising to the occasion to meet the needs of our clients.
Awesome, man. John, how does the power of design impact who you are and what you do?
I think it challenges. We work with designers and we work with architects and creatives all the time, and I think it challenges to think differently or to be creative, because ultimately we're problem solvers.
Yeah.
We've collaborated on numerous projects, and you'll bring to us the building that you've designed and your thoughts around logos and artwork, and then it's on us to take your design and creative intent and manufacture it and build it in a sign.
Sure.
And so it's a constant evolution of partnering and being creative to come up with the right solution.
Awesome. Well, John, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your friendship, and I'm inspired by everything that you're doing, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Absolutely. Very, very proud of you. And, we started kind of on similar journeys 4 and 5 years ago.
That's right.
And it's been a wild, very exciting and fun ride, and glad to have you as a partner and teammate on many projects.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Design podcast. Remember to rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Find out more about Jack and Osa Studio at osastudio.com and follow us on Instagram at The Power of Design Podcast. Thank you.